I actually started working on Wall Street when I was going to college during the summers. And then after that went in the Navy, and then after the Navy came back to work for Pershing. And in 1970, they needed someone to trade over-the-counter stocks, as well as, they being Pershing, needed someone to trade over-the-counter stocks and over-the-counter options. So there was only one other person in the firm that was doing that. So I volunteered. So I began trading options in 1970. And it was a very antiquated system, as I said, over the counter. And we would have to call dealers and they would price the 3-month, 6-month, 9-month options. And then we got word that the people at the Board of Trade, the leaders of the Board of Trade, wanted to start a listed options business. And I worked for a man named Les Pilblad, who was hired around the same time I started trading options. And he was involved with options in the past, so he had a great reputation. And the people from the Board of Trade knew of Les. So I was in a great position because I worked for a terrific guy, knew options, and people here at the Board of Trade really didn't know that much about options. It was all commodities, all futures. And so I was in a great spot to contact people and for people to contact us. I went to Wagner College for a while, and then Uncle Sam was breathing down my neck during the Vietnam, and so I joined the Naval Reserve. So I spent a couple of years at Wagner, and then a couple of years in active duty in the Navy, and then I came back and I went to the New York Institute of Finance, which no longer exists. I think it developed into something else, and spent a couple of years there and got a certificate basically in brokerage management and that type of thing. Every year, I would at least lose my voice once a year. And then I'd always have a cold or a virus, being close in proximity with all these people in the trading crowds. So you could always count on some colds and losing your voice. But later on, now I have a hip replacement, a bad back, and I often think that it's related to my days on my feet all day, every day. Well, as I say, I was a young guy when we came out in '74, and I had a 9-month-old baby at home, and my wife was originally from New York like myself, and really wasn't hepped up out of moving out of New York and moving to Chicago, but we're still here, and it's been a great life out here in Chicago. Mostly the people. I've met some great people throughout my career. A lot of integrity, professionals. Learned a lot from them every day as far as trading on the opposite side of some good traders and some great people. And it was a lot of fun. A friend of mine that I knew was one of my brokers, actually. And he grew up in New York, and I convinced him to come down to the floor. He was working for a bond house here in Chicago. And I said, come down to the floor. But as he always put it, if you really liked high school, you'd love the CBOE. 78 was really ugly, probably before a lot of people's time, but 78 was ugly. 87 was, you wondered what you were going to do the next day. And it was scary for all of us, not only member firms and our customers, but especially for the locals. I felt that I felt bad for a lot of people that didn't make out too well in those environments. And also the amount of business that came into the exchanges was uncontrollable. And that's what led to basically the technology later on. But it was very hard to monitor things, to keep some semblance of order. It was a great experience. It was could be a lot of fun at times, but it was tough, and it was intriguing. I'm sure that or people know that when you're asked what do you do for a living and where do you work, if you say, well, I work down at the CBOE or the Merck or the Board of Trade, they're intrigued right away, and it is a place where that is intriguing. When a select few of us, I would gather to say that it's flattering.
Advantage Futures is proud to sponsor JLN Video Series.
Many include a recurring theme of people helping others during critical times in their trading careers.
Too often today, when traders need help the most, their call is met with numbers to press on the phone instead of an actual person.
Advantage prioritizes you.
Personalized service, competitive pricing, aimed at giving you every advantage.
Make us your advantage.
Advantage Futures.
Using as an example the people that I mentioned, the Goldbergs, Dave and Bob, and the O'Connors. I didn't work directly with them, but they were real good examples of some fine people. Also, the leadership at the various exchanges. Duke Chapman was he was one of the chairmen of the CBOE. Great guy, good leader. I always looked up to him, and Wally Alk. But again, the people that started the CBOE, Board of Trade people, were excellent people. And then the innovators also at the Merck, Leo Melamed, who innovated Globex and really had a good technology mentality, that I wound up working a lot with the different technology committees and to develop that. Well, at times, in the early days, openings were controlled. All we did in the early days on the CBOE were trade calls. So you only went down the list of calls. But then, for instance, in 76, 78, around that time, business just became so hectic and so busy because there was so much paper flow, and those would cause openings to really be delayed. So if you would start at the top of the list with your nearest term call, and the stock would be volatile, it would move. Options were the option that opened first on the top of the list had no correlation to what was going on, 10, 15 minutes later. And the longer it took, the worse it got, especially for locals. But filling paper, it was pretty interesting too, because you had market orders and you had things that could get really out of skew. But it became hectic. And once again, with so much business, technology really was a necessity. And then we had multiple listed options. So, digital equipment would be listed on the Amex, and it would be listed on the CBOE, and the Amex would have a different way of opening, and what series would open in the Amex would be priced different on the CBOE, and it could be a real mess. Well, when the CBOE had too much business, a nice problem to have, we recognized the fact that there was a problem with order delivery or order receiving, and there was just so much paper, it had to be automated. So that was just an order delivery system, how to get the paper distributed in the right way. Would electronics help it? Yes. And that's where the the OSS, the order delivery system came in. And I recognized it because you just couldn't control. We had to stop trading. So you'd have to control this with some type of system. So that's when we developed the OSS. And it wasn't electronic trading. It was just a simple electronic delivery system. And it wasn't very popular with the locals and also especially with the floor brokers, because it's taking the paper out of their hands and going directly to the exchange. And it did alleviate a lot of the bottlenecks. But that was the first, my first ideas about it. But I also felt that there had to be a better way, and knowing the trade, how trading was done on the CME and the Board of Trade, as well as the CBOE, in open outcry, there could be a better way to do this, and a more sophisticated technological way to do it, rather than having some disparities in the market, whether they be order flow or markets that were just not being able to trade. So I was always a proponent, of technology, which was not very popular with the floor environment. And then, as I say, when I went with Morgan Stanley in '82, it was becoming popular that, and the technology was becoming available. If you could sit at a restaurant and someone could press buttons and put in a Coke and a hamburger, and I observed this one night when I was working for the CBOE, and I came back and I said, if that can be done, we could do that with different types of orders. So then by '82, that technology started to exist. And Leo Melamed and people over the Merck realized this. So, as I say, being a proponent, I was asked to serve on the Globex Committee, the initial one, with John Geldermann and other people at the Merck. So that's when it not only became an order entry system, but kind of a good way for a local to trade against that order flow, or with that order flow.
Advantage Futures is proud to sponsor this JLN video series. In many of the series videos, there are recurring themes of people being helped at critical times in their trading careers. Too often today, when traders need help the most, their call is met with numbers to press on the phone instead of an actual person. At Advantage, you are our priority. Everyone needs an edge or advantage when trading. Make us your advantage.